Hi, welcome back to the Adopted into Christ series. My name is Kia Harris, and I am so excited to be here with you. If you haven't caught the first part, the introduction to this series, go back and watch that 2-minute video so you can have an understanding of what we're going to be talking about throughout this series. But for the first part of this series, I'm going to be discussing my birth and sharing some things about my birth that are unique, and I believe a part of it has connected to who I am today. And so let's jump right into it. So at the age of 10, my mother revealed to my sister and I that we were both adopted. Now, being a young person, I don't know what grade that is, but being that young, I didn't really have an understanding of what it meant to be adopted. So she was actually very straightforward about the process. She let us know that, number one, she loved us no matter what. Although we're not birthed from her, she still loved us. And then she always reminded us that God loved us too. And so it wasn't until high school that I started to really think about what it meant to be adopted. I knew that it was part of my identity, but I didn't exactly know what it meant. I didn't really grasp it. And I also went through some feeling of abandonment. I went through some isolation, and that's because during that time I was very reserved. And so we're going to jump into the next part. But I wanted to give you some details about my adoption and my search for records related to my adoption. So in 2017, I was able to pull up records about my adoption. Now, because my adoption was closed, it meant that I wasn't able to find identifying information on my biological mother. However, I could find some information about her. So in 2017, I sent an application to pull that report, and they gave me a series of information. So I wanted to share some of that information that they shared with me. They shared that she was 33 years old when she had me. They also shared that I am the 7th child out of the children that she had, which means that she had 6 children before she had me. They also let me know that she was also having a child. The last time they heard from her, she was ready to bring in another child that she was giving birth to. They also let me know that my mother was on drugs. She was a cocaine addict, and she also smoked cigarettes, drank beer. And so when I think about it, I think about the fact that it's such a miracle that I am here today, that I'm not born with all these different birth defects. I'm not dysfunctional. I'm not completely coherent and able to express this video with you and express my testimony. So that is in itself a true blessing. She also, in this report, shared that I was also in foster care for a bit of time. So I was in foster care from 1990 until 1992, and then in 1993 I was placed in the Harris family, where my adoption became official. And so that is kind of the background of my adoption and the information that I was provided with in that process of doing that search. And so how did I process this information? Well, the first time I read through it, I kind of just read through it and said, okay. But then the second time I read through it, and this was before I decided to share my testimony, I really was able to grasp the information. The fact that my biological mother was on drugs, the fact that I am sitting here today being able to share my testimony with you, the fact that I essentially was abandoned. And I know that a lot of adopted people, adoptees is what they call them, we often will feel that sense of abandonment. And I felt this in high school. I felt this following that I felt that I was abandoned. I didn't know why this woman had given me up. I often thought about her as my biological mother, but I didn't think about my biological father, because my assumption was that there would be no record of him. And that record that I was able to search for actually revealed that they're pretty much the same age, had the same substance abuse personalities, and that they just continued in their behaviors. And so because of this process that I was going in, I was able to find this information, but I was also able to have an understanding of what it meant to be adopted, and the fact that now being placed in a household where my sister and I have two birthdays that are 2 weeks apart. My birthday's on November 4th and hers is on the 18th. So the way that God was so strategic to lay out the foundation for our family, to place us in the same household, to reveal my sister and I to my mother in her dreams so that she could adopt us, was truly a blessing. And then the fact that I was going through withdrawals associated with the drugs, associated with the alcohol, and to be able to sit here once again and be able to share my testimony with you is truly a miracle. Because often when children are born with withdrawal symptoms, when they're born from parents who are on drugs, even smoking cigarettes, doing alcohol, they are always at times born with birth defects. And so I just feel like it's a truly blessing that I wasn't born with any birth defects. Actually, I was born with a birth defect, but we're gonna talk about in the next video what that birth defect was and if I still have that birth defect still. And so I think that's gonna be an exciting experience because I can't wait to share with you what God did with me through that. And so I just want to close up this video. I want to invite you to send your comments, write your comments below, get a hold of my contact information, and I'll leave it below so that you can connect with me. I want to be able to let people know that once you find your identity in Christ, you don't have to worry about the fact that you're adopted, the sense that you were abandoned because some woman, your biological mother, and your biological parents didn't want you. When you find your identity in Christ, you don't have to worry about trying to fit in. You don't have to worry about the abandonment because God says He will never leave you or forsake you. You don't have to worry about the low self-esteem. And if you do feel like you have low self-esteem or that you don't fit in with your family or whatever the case is, you should know that God is always accepting of you. He's always loving. He always has an open heart, and He can help mend whatever is broken with anything that goes on in your life. So I really hope this message encourages you today, and I really hope that it touches people who are adopted, people who are looking to share their testimony, people who are interested in pursuing Christ, people who are interested in God and who He is, and wanting to have God reveal Himself to you. And so I just want to be a word of encouragement today. So I want to close it off with speaking some blessings over you. If you've caught any of my Fulfilling Life Friday videos, I always do this. And so I just want to speak a blessing over you and your household. I want to speak a blessing over your mind. You don't need to be distracted by the world. You don't need the world to give you your identity when you have your identity in Christ. And so I just want to pray peace over you. I want to pray that you will be touched by this message, that you will be an encouragement to others who may be going through this, even people who may not be adopted but are having a sense of abandonment or having a sense of anxiety or depression or anything that is not of God. I just want you to be encouraged. And so, thank you for joining me for part 1 of this series, Adopted into Christ. I hope you'll leave your comments below. I hope you will tune in for the next video where I'm going to be talking about my childhood. And once again, I'm going to be talking about what birth defect I was born with and what happened to that. And so, until next time, I hope you have a blessed month. Whatever year it is, whatever time of the season it is, I just want you to be blessed. And so I look forward to seeing you next time for our Adopted into Christ series.